Hello, this is a business guy, and I have with me Tchicaya Missamou.
My name is Tchicaya Missamou. I was born in the Republic of Congo, Central Africa. My dad has 16 children with 7 wives. In America, I can only afford one.
He's a good friend of mine, and he's also the chief liaison between the United States and Africa. I mean, he's the #1 guy for the U.S. government between the United States and Africa.
There's a need of American people to be inspired again. It's very important for people to understand where we came from. I was born in Africa. I've overcome all the obstacles ever. I saw my mom be raped, my dad be put in jail, and I needed to inspire people by showing them a lesson. Even though we're in a bad economy right now, even we're fighting 2 wars, there is a hope on the American dream, and the American dream is still alive.
So tell us what you do.
Good morning, America. Dr. Tchicaya here. So good to hear from you guys. Well, I'm a subject expert in Africa for the U.S. military here in Germany.
Now, Tchicaya, one time he owned the largest personal training gym in the United States.
I figured he would be a good guy to whip Tracy into shape.
Hello! Tama! What's going on? Faster. Don't stop.
Big five. No! You gotta do it, cause that hurt.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Girl, you got 30 seconds to enjoy your freedom. 3, 2, you're down!
He also was born and raised in the Congo.
What are you feeling yourself? It's not supposed to be easy.
He wrote a book. What's the name of your book?
In the Shadow of Freedom.
In the Shadow of Freedom. Excellent book. It was just gripping. I couldn't put it down. His life story is absolutely incredible. He grew up in the African Congo. Tell me about your father. He had how many children?
My dad still has, I think, about 16 children now, maybe 20.
Wow. And how many wives?
8 to 9. I can count them.
8 or 9, like at the same time?
Well, he was not playing a video game. I think during his time, there were no TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. He was busy doing something else. But that's the reason why I'm here.
I understand
I can't complain.
This is my time. Thank you very much. I love America.
So tell me about your story, your beginning, your humble beginnings.
My family was brutalized. I saw my own mother being raped in front of me. Every time I talk about it, I have tears in my eyes.
Well, I was born, of course, in the Republic of Congo, Central Africa. At my birth, the doctor told my mother that I would not live until the age of 1. Okay, I'm over 40 now, so I'm still here. So during that time, I grew up thinking that I will become maybe nobody.
How did I end up here today? From the jungles of the Congo to the street of America, I was that child that was most likely not to succeed.
But my great-grandmother, Mama Missamou, always told me that one day you will become somebody. She said in Congolese, Lumbuchimoshibo Babuntu, which means one day you're going to be somebody. So I grew up with the notion of knowing one day I will become somebody. So it's so important to talk to children and always talk to them in the way of adding value. It's called positive reinforcement. Because by telling a kid, hey, you're great, you're strong, you can make it, you will become somebody, he's going to believe in that. So until today, I believe that I will become somebody. I am on my way to become somebody. But I guess I am somebody today.
As a self-made millionaire who believes in one thing, your freedom comes with an obligation. And that obligation is not to waste your freedom. Not to waste what?
Yeah, now I have to tell everybody, even though Tchicaya is a celebrity and very, very well-known individual internationally, we're close friends, and I know his story like inside and out because I've known him for so many years, but the audience doesn't. So tell us more about your childhood and growing up and how you went from being born and raised in the Congo and having a USMC sweatshirt on today.
Yeah. Once a Marine, always a Marine. So the first white people I met in my life was at the golf course. They were Marines. Once I approached them, I asked them, how can I become like you? They said, you were never going to become like us. And I said, why is that? And they told me that they were the savior of the planet. Then I said, savior of the planet, like Star Wars? They said, yes, like Star Wars. Now get out of here. Because he rejected me, he planted the seed in my brain that one day I will become somebody. So fast forward, I watched this movie called Full Metal Jacket. And this is where I learned about what Marines do. During the Civil War in the Congo, instead of me killing people, I started to save people's lives. doing so, I put my family in danger.
So there was a lot of upheaval, a lot of war in the Congo between the two guys that want to be president, and they're killing each other, both sides. And you, instead of killing the people, you formed a group to save people's lives and get them out of the war zone.
I was beaten, stabbed by my own militia for trying to free people, black and white, from a brutal regime.
That is correct. Okay, it was the war between the South and the North. It's still going right now, but maybe not physically anymore, but psychologically, the war's still going. There's always discrimination among people. So, making story short, once my life was in danger, I have to leave the country. Apply for political asylum all over the world. France rejected me. Belgium rejected me. Germany rejected me. America was the only country that took me in.
What was the biggest thing that triggered you to want to leave the country?
I would say this. I was inspired. I know this is Black History Month. I was inspired by this young musician. His name was Tupac Shakur. And he had a song called California Love. So he welcomed me to the wide, wide West.
I was inspired by this music video. California Love. They welcomed me to the wide, wide West.
So February 14, 1998, I came to America thinking that Tupac Shakur was still alive. My biggest obstacle was facing the escalator. I didn't know how to step on the damn thing because in Africa, we claim trees, we don't claim escalators.
The escalator. In my mind, white people are magicians. In Africa, we only claim trees. Now I have the escalator. I didn't know how I'm going to step on the damn thing.
And my second day on this country, I was robbed at gunpoint.
You lived in France, and then you got there on a fake passport.
Yes.
And you came to the U.S. also on a fake passport.
That's correct.
And the first day you came to America, you were robbed at gunpoint.
I was robbed at gunpoint. No joke. February 15, 1998.
And this was in Sacramento, California.
That is correct. And then I found the third day, I found a job as a janitor. It was the first time in my life that a white kid gonna call me Mr. Tchicaya. Understand that in Africa, we still believe that the white man is God.
Once I boarded the airplane, I was greeted by a white flight attendant. She offered me a glass of water. It was the first time in my life that a white person will offer me a glass of water. Because in Africa, we still believe that the white man is God.
So coming to America, seeing little white kids calling me Mr., it's an awakening. And that's when I realized that I am becoming somebody. 6 months later, I took over the management of the school. A year later, I joined the Marines.
And I joined the U.S. Marine. There, I learned how to speak English. I spent 12 years protecting our freedom.
This is where I learned how to speak English. Once in the boot camp, the first word I learned was thank you. But I was taught the TH on thank you is pronounced like an F. So with my accent, it sounds more like I don't want to say it, but it sounds more like FU, okay? So I graduated top of my class, the School of Infantry. Then I was deployed all over the world.
So you snuck over here on a fake passport. You went to work for this gymnasium.
Yeah.
Like it was a karate studio.
That's correct.
And from the karate studio, you went into the military.
That's correct.
And you joined the U.S. Marines. It's like, hey, I can join the U.S. Marines. I can become a citizen.
That too. But it was not about becoming a citizen. It was more about giving back. Freedom. You don't know what you got until you lose it.
I use my freedom. We create a company called the Warriors Fitness Camp. It's a community within a community. If your heart's still beating, you have an obligation to yourself not to waste your freedom.
I understand the value of freedom because I came from a place, I would say that as immigrants, we have an unfair advantage from US citizens because we came from a place of having less to nothing to a place of having so much. So we don't take things for granted. When we see an opportunity, we take it.
You know what? What you're saying speaks so much to me right now because I remember living in a neighborhood and there were a lot of Korean immigrants across. There's a major boulevard, and across on the other side, the whole neighborhood was full mainly of Korean immigrants who were very wealthy people. financially successful. And before I moved to that neighborhood, I was kind of on the kind of middle class, struggling side of town before that. And I saw all these rich people that were from Korea that just came to the country to start these businesses. And I thought, why am I like barely struggling? And these immigrants who just started from nothing are driving these Mercedes and living in the good side of town. I thought, there's something wrong with that. And I realized what it was. I grew up seeing the opportunity all around me. They grew up not seeing the opportunity all around them. Coming to the America, it's like, wow, I'm like a kid in a candy store. There's so much candy, I'm going to get as much as I can. Because they didn't have the opportunity there. They come to America, there's all this opportunity. It's like they recognize it. And we grew up around it and didn't recognize it.
This is when I'm saying that we immigrants have an unfair advantage because we can see things that local people cannot see.
True.
And we are not afraid to take risk because anything you want to do in your life, the number one thing you should do first is believe in yourself. There is not an immigrant that came to America who did not believe. Even the white man, when he left Europe to come to America, he believed in himself. So when an immigrant comes, see an opportunity, the first thing he does, he believes first, then he takes the risk.
Yeah.
What else can happen to me? Nothing. I live in the greatest country on the planet. If I fail, so be it. But failure is part of success. The more I fail, the closer I get to succeed.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that people should know. They shouldn't be afraid of failure.
Yeah, because you took a big risk leaving your homeland, going to Europe, and then coming to America. That was huge risk. You know, you could have just stayed where you were and, stayed in your comfortable, familiar surroundings. But that was a huge risk.
Well, once again, one thing that America has done and continuing to do is called soft power. Okay, America is the master of branding. Okay, America have sold and continue to sell the American dream. I believe in the American dream. Because I believe in the American dream, I start to believe in the African dream. That's the reason why I am in this position, because Africa is the future.
Yeah.
Okay. By 2050, Africa will be the most populated continent on planet Earth with the youngest population. You have the youngest population, the human resources, okay, the richest continent. Africa will take over everything in a couple years from now.
Yeah,
So
studying the statistics. Yeah, studying the statistics. The United States, other than immigration, has not been, since the 1970s, having enough babies to replace the population. Asia, especially China and Japan, they're not having enough babies to replace the population. Europe, same thing. Africa, different. Africa is having, is
lots of babies.
Lots of babies.
It's okay to have 6, 7 wives in Africa, so they're having babies. Listen, I believe that a main mission on the planet Earth is called reproduction.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first thing that God brought us to this earth, reproduction. And because of that, African people, not only they're young, but also they're driven, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they want to succeed.
Yep.
Africa is the market of the future. So it is imperative for not only the American, but the rest of the world need to understand, geostrategically speaking, where Africa stands. If you don't speak African right now, maybe it's time for you to learn. But Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent with 54 countries and over 2,000 languages. Africa is the future. And I'm glad that Uncle Sam gave me the opportunity to be the bridge between the continent and the US. So not only I am living the American dream, but I'm also living the African dream, living in Europe. So I'm living in 3 continents. I am dreaming America, Europe, and Africa. Hey, the business guy, I cannot complain. I have a good life.
Okay, now everybody's tuned into the same radio station, WIIFM. You know how the radio stations start with a W on the East Coast instead of a K like they do on the West Coast. So WIIFM. And so what's in it for me is the radio station everybody's tuned into. So how can people help themselves and help Africa at the same time?
Well, I think first of all, we need to understand that technology started in Africa.
Yeah.
Innovation started in Africa. Every human being DNA can be traced way back to Africa. Yeah. Africa was the beginning. Africa is not the end. So to answer your question is, before you help Africa, try to understand first, what is Africa? Once you understand what is Africa, then you will realize that Africa is important to you. 60% of the African land, arable land, is not being used yet. Africa can feed the globe. Unfortunately, the war in Ukraine and Russia have shown us how the grain is coming from. But do you understand that Africa can feed the world?
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Okay. So we have the water, we have water, and most important, we have the people.
Yeah.
And the only thing those people need from the West is culturally respect. The West need to respect the African people. The West should not go to Africa as lesson donor, as giving lecture to the African people. No, the West need to listen to the African people. They need to learn about the culture and the language. Then they can lead. I call it the 3L: listen, learn, and lead.
Yeah, historically, people from Europe and the Americas, especially Europe in the beginning, would go to Africa, pillar and plundage their resources and take them back for themselves and take the lion's share of the benefit. They might provide some benefit there, but pennies compared to dollars. So there has to be some mutual benefit of equal distribution, right? Instead of just pillage and plunder.
True. Technology have shown that the West cannot live without technology. And those natural resources are coming from Africa.
Yeah.
And Africa, it's an awakening moment right now. They understand the value of the soil. So it is imperative for the West to start negotiating with the African people as partners, as equal partners, okay? But also need to also understand that the impact of colonization, decolonization, and monocolonization. Science have shown, research have shown that mental health can be passed on from generation to generation. The West need to regain the trust and the respect of the African people if they want to be.
Yeah. Is there a lot of lack of trust?
Well, I would just keep it black and white. Black men in Africa, there's no trust a white man because of history.
Yep.
History don't lie. So if we want to fix this relationship, we need to acknowledge first our wrongdoing.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Once we acknowledge our wrongdoing, then we need to go to Africa with a lot of humility because Africa does not need the West. The West needs Africa. We have been surviving for years. Remember when they say, oh, COVID is going to come and erase all of Africa? You have more people dying in the West than in Africa.
Yeah.
It is time for us to treat Africans as equal partners.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of thought that we from the sophisticated society are going to go teach those primitive people what's what, right?
This is one of the biggest mistakes, and we can now...
Historically, that's kind of been the attitude. Those primitive people living in these grass huts, we're going to go teach them our ways.
Well, it is still in the Western people's mind.
Yeah.
They go to Africa as teachers.
Yeah.
But they don't understand, you cannot teach civilization to people who create civilization.
Yeah, true.
You need to listen to them. What works for you may not work for African. And you need to accept that.
Yeah, because if we're going to have an impact, we first have to show respect and first not just talk, but listen and show understanding. Yeah.
If Africa was a democracy continent, it will be the most powerful democracy continent on planet Earth because human value came from Africa.
Yeah.
We respect the human being. Now, understand with the power of technology, I can't go into details, but we need to accept the African people with their values, their religions, and their God, and not imposing them the West values.
Right.
You will not go to Africa and say, I will do business with you if you accept my values. The African people will say, it doesn't work for me.
No. What's the best? Yeah. So, what is the best way to do business in Africa? What's the best way to do business?
Build trust, cultural trust. You need to build what we call a cultural trust. Once you build a cultural trust, okay, then you'll be able to build a relationship. Now, in the relationship, we talk about commitment. In Africa, once you made a promise in Africa, it's a debt that must be paid in full. In Africa, a handshake is most important than a piece of paper that you're going to sign. So build a cultural trust, accept the African people for who they are, not for what you want them to become.
Right.
Listen to them, learn about the culture and language, then you can lead.
So there's an initial suspicion for the white person that's outside of Africa. There's an initial suspicion they're going to try to take advantage of me. So one has to, your word is your bond, and your behavior to back it up on a persistent basis that will build trust.
That is correct. But history doesn't lie.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard an African country invading another country in the West? No. The West have always have invaded Africa.
True.
The first immigrants were white people. They came into Africa with religion.
Yeah.
They stripped the black man from his religion, his God, his language, even his name, to instill them the white people's religion. But now, this generation understood the game. They say, oh, fool me once, shame on me. But fool me twice, shame on you.
Yeah. So it's a totally different game now, and they learn the lessons of history, and you see the outsiders kind of with an eye of suspicion.
Yes. I think the white man need to stop thinking that he's superior to other people.
Yeah.
You know, I understand that, you know, naturally he teach his kids about you superior because you're white. But there's no superior race on this world. We were all born equal. Studies have shown if the Bible written by the white person stated that God created the man first, and the research have shown that Africa is the birthplace of our humanity, and the same research have shown that everybody's DNA can be traced back to Africa. Therefore, God created black men first. So you cannot say you're superior to a black man because two black people can have a white baby. Science.
Yeah.
So let's work together. The West needs Africa. Africa needs the West.
True.
Let's partner. And together, we're going to save the world. Climate change is no joke. But Africa holds the second largest rainforest in the world that can fight climate change.
True. I want to hear the story of when those people knocked on your house, if you wouldn't mind reliving that story.
I was beaten, stabbed by my own militia for trying to free people, black and white, from a brutal regime.
During the Civil War in 1997, once I created this group of courageous young guy to save people's lives. We were taking people from the north to the south to safety.
So people would pay you to take them out of the war zone and get them to safety so they could fly away out of the country.
Yes. Yeah. People, well, of course, listen, at war, once again, there's an opportunity. So I saw an opportunity to save people's lives. They pay me some money, okay? Once I start doing it, save people's lives, start making a few bucks here and there. And this has created jealousy and envy among people in the community.
Yeah, so you got wealthy by people paying you to get them out of the war zone. And you were doing certainly way above average than your average buddies around you.
That is correct. Because what happened was, the French Foreign Legion, when they came in, there are some areas that they couldn't get in because they don't know the area. So it's always good to have a local people who knew the area to do this type of operation. So as a young man, also naive, I created a group of young guys who want to make some money and save lives. And this is how we started. So by doing so, I was making few bucks here and there, and people turned against me. So at that night, when they came and knocked on my door, they wanted to kill me. So when we started fighting, my mom came outside from her bedroom. She told us kids, "Hey, do not hurt my son. I will do whatever you guys want me to do."
So these military guys got into your house and they're being aggressive toward, looking for you, being aggressive toward your family.
Yes, that is correct. Okay. They were not military. They were militias. Yeah. Militia people.
Okay.
So they came in, they broke into the house, and then we just started fighting. When the fight broke up, my mother came in, okay, And I witnessed before my eyes the rape of my mother.
I've witnessed before my eyes the rape of my own mother and left for dead before her house was set on fire.
My mother passed away now, rest in peace.
Yeah.
People don't understand the sacrifice a mother will do until she's no longer there.
Yeah.
Okay. I wish my mother was.
So they attacked, so they got into your house, they're looking for you, and they attacked your mother right in front of your eyes.
That is correct. Yeah. And then they raped her. Something that no man should ever see.
No.
See your own mother being raped and there was nothing you can do about it.
And they were holding you like at gunpoint, so you couldn't like go rescue her because they had a gun pointed at you.
Yeah, that's correct. It's part of being a man.
Yeah, and they stabbed you.
They stabbed me. Yes, they did stab me.
In the butt with a bayonet. Yeah.
Yeah, they stabbed me with a bayonet because I was fighting.
Yeah.
It was bad, but I didn't know I was stabbed until hours later.
Yeah. Difficult memories.
There are difficult memories, but I believe that all those memories made me who I am today.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, if I have to go back, I will not say no, because I understand that a hard time makes strong men.
Yeah, true.
So, and this is the reason why I'm in this position, and I am forever grateful for the opportunity that Uncle Sam gave me, and I would never want to take it for granted. I love America as much as I love Africa.
So what's your parting wisdom, the most important piece of wisdom you have to pass on?
The most important word of wisdom I can tell to anybody here is what my dad always told me. A man who wakes up before the sunrise and go to sleep way after the sunset will achieve his greatest potential.
I love it.
We only got 24 hours in a day. If you wake up before the sunrise, you already have a head start to the people still sleeping.
I love it.
Fail early, fail forward. Take a risk and never take no for an answer.
Tchicaya Missamou, Dr. Tchicaya Missamou, I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you being a business guy, and I love seeing your videos.